Good morning, everybody. How are we doing?
I want that footage.
I do want to start by saying, please excuse the voice. I learned this weekend that I am not haunted house material and was screaming my head off. So I'm still battling getting my voice back. But either way, I couldn't let Christian down. So again, thank you to Christian for having us, and then thank you guys for being here, okay?
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. All right. So I do want to start off with going back to the early days with these two gentlemen. So I do want to start off with Tommy, since you have the mic.
Yeah, sure.
So Tommy, you started your business in about 2007, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? And I was still in middle school, but I did hear that was probably not the best time to be in real estate as of now. What I wanted to ask you is, what did those early years teach you about in building something that's going to last in the long term?
Man, that was like a question and an insult to me. Reminding me how old I am. You're in middle school? Jesus, I'm not that old. First and foremost, thank you for being here. Thanks for having me, especially to share the stage with my brother Greg here, because we came up in this business together, and we'll probably share a lot of stories this afternoon. You know, I'll tell you, that's a great question, Leo. And I'll tell you that I didn't know any better, right? And I'm sure Greg would say the same thing, because 2007 was the worst time, I think, to get into real estate, because the market was literally like crashing. The stock market literally crashed. The housing market in the country crashed. People weren't buying like they were earlier. But I didn't know differently. Right? I was new to business. I was building a new business, and building something new is hard. So I knew it was supposed to be hard, and it was hard. The thing that I would say in reflection, if I could go back and tell, a 25-year-old me getting into the business, it was officially December 2006, sorry. I'd say this, what I've learned during those tough times of growing a business, what's super important is, number one, you have to be intentional and you have to be purposeful on who you choose to surround yourself with, okay? In business, if you're a part of a team or you're looking to be a part of a team, if you're a solo agent, around the partners you choose to surround yourself with, other maybe mentors or people in the office that you kind of look up to, and just personal life too. If the people that you spend the most time with, they're not challenging you and pushing you to raise the bar on the standards that you hold yourself to, that is a wake-up call that you need to find new people to be around. That is the number one thing, because every day, if no one is pushing you to be the best and helping you achieve that path that you want to go to, that's where you get complacent, you stay stuck, and then it leads to burnout. That's probably the most important thing. And the other thing that, if I could go back and tell myself that I fell in a trap to, and these two things, this advice I'm sharing you all, it's not a theory, I lived it. Literally, I fell on my face and made these wrong mistakes. I was surrounded with the wrong people that were holding me back. And the second thing is, and this is the hardest thing. We were talking about this earlier before this started. You cannot. We work in the most transparent industry. I can look up how much Greg is selling, how much his team is producing. Right? I can look up how much any of you are selling, and in that moment, I could just sit there and pout and be like, "Why is Greg selling like 3x more than I am? Like, I'm just as good as him. Like, he's not that great. Like, what the heck's going on? My life sucks." And in that moment, you're standing still. Who remembers a couple Olympics ago when Michael Phelps was swimming against a French guy, Alan Bernard? And you see him looking over at Phelps while Phelps is like an inch in front of him. That's what happens when you start to compare yourself to other people.
Spot on.
We get stuck in this position where we want to compare ourselves to the place we're trying to get to, the gap from where you are now and where you're trying to be. You have to be rooted in gratitude. I always say that small hinges can swing large doors. Stacking the little wins early on is super important, especially in 2007. Any little thing, if we help someone sign a lease, we were popping bottles like we just like sold the penthouse unit in the St. Regis. It was big. We had to stack those wins because when you can help root yourself in gratitude, what happens is you stop comparing yourself in that gap of where you're trying to go, and you start to celebrate the gains from where you just came from, right? That's what really fuels your journey, and those are the mile markers along your path that keep telling you that you're heading in the right direction.
I actually really love that piece of advice because I know something that I do is I keep like a jar of Post-it notes, and I will write one thing that I'm grateful for a week in that jar. And whenever I have those hard moments as an agent, I'll go back, I'll try to dig towards the bottom and pull one of those out. And it's funny, even to this day, to read. I'm grateful that I had my first buyer's consultation. It makes me laugh. It makes me remember pretty much everything that Tommy's saying.
I love that.
All right, so over to Greg. I hear that Vesta is now the #1 independent team in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But in those first 5 years, could you share a little bit about what that behind the scenes looked like in building that up so that you set a really good foundation for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better answer than it was just complete chaos and continues to be. So, you know, it kind of goes off of what Tommy just was talking about. You know, at the end of the day, like I fell into this business by chance. I went to Michigan State for veterinary medicine, didn't want to be a vet, love animals, and then I finished with finance. Didn't know what I was going to do. Had a chance meeting that led to an interview at a real estate company in Chicago, which then ended with an offer to be a realtor that I never even thought about it as an industry, to come out to Chicago. And then 2 weeks after graduation, I came to the city. And I started in January of 2008. And if I can give you a perspective of what that was, essentially the second Great Depression, right? I mean, it was everything, we had crazy amount of foreclosures. Everything was kind of going, you know, just the beginning of that, kind of burnout in the industry. Just everything was going straight down. But I didn't know better. And I just walked in, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I started in a rental company. Mm-hmm. And by virtue of chance and luck, I entered the only sector of the industry that actually was doing fine. And in a city that had a lot of renters and great rental properties that I then had to learn how to be able to get more clients, right? So I figured out how to do a lot of posting. I was like that Craigslist spammer in the beginning. And I learned how to scale that model to be able to quantify my time so that I was like, hey, I'm spending 3 hours posting Craigslist ads. Can I get somebody to do this for me? Oh, great. I am now spending a penny per dollar to get these ads up. And now I'm down line on the sales funnel. I'm now answering more phone calls and, you know, putting up these postings. So that was essentially the foundation of Vesta. Is we figured out how to do high volume selling, which we continue to do. We just transitioned that into now buyers versus renters. But what I would tell you is that, you know, in the beginning, I mean, I didn't know my head from my ass. I was kind of throwing things on the wall, seeing what stuck. I have terrible ADHD and I chase, you know, shiny objects. I figured out how to be able to focus my energy a lot more now. But that inspiration, that consistency of wanting to figure out what the next move is, that itch to be great, and the power, the push that comes with has never left me. And it's where Vesta has grown out of. I mean, you guys have to understand, I've never been associated with a big brokerage. Every single day is a new day for me. I've never ran a $400 million team. Today's my first day. Okay. So I'm constantly self-aware that I don't know what I don't know. And I've always been self-aware. That's been my superpower. When I really look at what has propelled me to the successes that I've had, is that I've just been real. When I fail at something, it's my fault. When I succeed at something, it's because of something that I did, right? So I reward myself, but I'm also strict with myself to understand that if I lose a referral because they went with another broker, I'm not like, why would you not call me? I look back and I'm like, I didn't call them enough. That mindset shift in everything that I do it allows me to just give the clarity and the true nature of what actually is going to drive my business. And that is what I double down on. And I never point fingers outwards. I'm always pointing fingers inwards. And how can I be the best version of myself today? And that's the only thing I teach my agents. And we just continuously figured out systems to keep doubling down. And we've just, at the end of the day, stuck true to what we believe in, never differed from that. And then we've been able to scale from there.
Can I add something to this? I want something that, like I said, I've known Greg for a long time, and I've been sitting front row cheering him on and vice versa. And the golden thread that ties him, myself, I could say the same thing about Larry C. He came up with us as well, and we're all good friends, is that what Greg just explained. If you were to type that into ChatGPT and say, explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader, what it would say is that we are just good at executing, okay? Building the airplane in the air. The problem is a lot of people focus on digging out and paving a nice runway to get your airplane up before they start building. Mm-hmm. And what happens is they never get to the plane. Oh yeah, I'm gonna shoot content. First I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna say and 60 days of ideas and yada yada. You never film anything. Oh, I'm gonna call my network and let them know what I'm doing. Okay, well, first I'm gonna get all these names down, figure out who their pets are, what their favorite restaurant to eat at, and you never end up calling anybody. Okay? And then what happens? The next time you log into Instagram, either someone from Greg's team or my team is standing next to that person holding keys at a closing, right? Because you just were too stuck on the aiming part versus the firing part. And so build that airplane in the air. That's exactly what Greg is saying, man. He took chances. And part of having the courage to build an airplane in the air is just jump off the say, all right, we're going to figure this out, is embracing failure. Right? We have the difference between whatever you may look at us up here as successful and where you are at right now is that we've just fallen on our face more times than you have. We've just made more mistakes. But what Greg just said is owning and accepting it. That's reflecting and then learning from it. That's having a feedback loop and then re-executing and applying and doing it again. Right? It's having that mindset of not being afraid of that and making sure that you just do it. Take the chances.
On that same idea, I was talking to agents as we were coming in, and I know we have quite a few new agents. Let's say we have agents here in the room that want to start building that airplane in the air in 2025. What are they doing? What should they be doing?
Great question. I do not gatekeep anything. I'll share you exactly what my recipe is and what I continue to do today, and I've been doing for the last 15, 17, 18 years. One, you have to understand, to survive and thrive in this market, 2025, you have to be a modern real estate professional, okay? What does that mean? A modern real estate professional blends two mindsets. Offline traditional with online digital, okay? Offline traditional is what we call the old school lead generation. Calling people, hosting events. Some people door knock. Some people call FSBOs and expireds, right? Doing open houses. It's the old school face-to-face style of business. Then the online digital is organic content marketing, having a newsletter, right? Having your database, CRM, right? Having a strong digital presence. You have to blend the two. Somewhere from 2020 to 2024, people just went either all one side or all another, right? People I know, they're highly successful at it, calling 100 expired listings at the end of the month every day, right? Trying to call FSBOs and convince them to list with them. I don't hate on that. People do great at it. I suck at it and I don't want to do that, right? And then I know I call them every day, and my mantra every morning is like, Lord, give me the courage and confidence of a 21-year-old life coach, right? There's all these like 21-year-olds who are now like selling courses online, and they're like, social media gurus and whatever in our industry because they had one successful year when rates were 2%, selling like 200 units, right? I don't hate on that, right? Good for them, but you need to be somewhere in the middle, okay? So here's the recipe, I would say. Every day, what I hold myself accountable to doing is I make at a minimum 12 outbound calls a day, okay? And I only work Monday through Friday, so that's 60 calls a week to your database, okay? I have 2 face-to-faces a day. I don't eat lunch myself, and my body doesn't, like, I'm not like a CrossFit junkie, right? So my body doesn't create endorphins naturally, so I have to manufacture them through caffeine. I do that at 3 o'clock every day. I don't sit at my desk sipping on coffee and watching TikTok and like responding to emails. I do that with someone, okay? The other thing is you have to create and distribute one piece of content every single day, and then you have to social sell every single day. Engage with 5 different accounts, hearting, commenting back on their stuff, and I slide into 3 DMs, okay? So that's 1 piece of content, 5 engagement pieces with other people online, 3 DMs, 12 phone calls, 2 face-to-faces a day, okay? That's like, you do that literally Monday through Friday, extra credit, you do that on the weekends. That's literally how you can net $2 million a year, okay? That's $100 million minimum business. That's all you have to do. But that's what I'm saying. You have to be a modern real estate professional that does the offline traditional calling, getting face-to-face with the online digital, creating content, engaging with accounts, sliding into people's DMs, okay? There's more nuances to it, but you do that as a new agent, man, if I could go back in a DeLorean and tell my 25-year-old self to do that from day one, I would be where Greg's team is at today.
Also, I buy 3K loan products.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And invest in this thing called Amazon. No, I'm joking. Anyway, that's what I would tell people to do.
I hope we all took notes. Greg, basically the same question to you.
So this is what my team is known for. This is how we get a agent that doesn't sell to doing $10 million the first year. So everything that Tommy said, absolute gold. And if you do that, do it. But that, not everybody is in that pathway or they don't want to go in that runway. So what we focus on at Vesta are activities, actions, MMAs, money-making activities. Because the only thing you can control in your day-to-day are your outputs, your phone calls, your DMs, whatever it is that is actually actionable is what you can control. Everybody, says in the beginning of the year, I want to sell $10 million in real estate. How are you going to do that, right? That's a nothing statement. But you could also say, it's the same goal. I'm going to call 40 unique people every single day. It'll get you to the same result. But what is more actionable? What can you quantify? What can you be able to mark? Did I do it? Yes or no? Is it working? Yes or no? Chris, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an MMA sheet that we have. And I'm happy to distribute this to everybody. It goes into how we do planning. We have the attitude setting in the morning because 70% of your success is attitude based. You have to be investing in it every single day. It's got nothing to do with real estate. I wake up at 4:45 in the morning every single day. I work out, I stretch, I meditate. I do all my things to get ready in the day. Everyone says that's crazy. It is. It took me 3 years to get there. I had a mentor calling me every single day, and I was running away from him for 3 years, but he finally got me. It is not easy. Success is not easy. Get out of this room, get out of this industry if you're looking for the quick way out. I'm telling you that right now. Every single broker that I've seen that is not finding traction is because what they tried yesterday, they're not trying today. Success is a culmination of the correctly labeled activities that you execute upon consistently over a long period of time. Yes. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Are you trying to get into shape? Are you trying to learn how to play the piano? Are you trying to sell 100 homes in a year? You have to label what those actionable items are on a daily basis, be able to monitor if you're doing them, and then be able to see if you're getting the outputs, the results, the sub-results, right, that are going to eventually get you to the results. So as an example, if I make 10 calls, I'm expecting to get 1 appointment. If I get 1 appointment, right, if I get 3 appointments, I should sell a house. That is just a general idea. So that means you need to call 30 people, right, to get 3 appointments to then sell that house. It's just a very simple methodology. But real estate is math. It really is. It's statistics. It's understanding what ultimate activities, actions are going to get you towards the result that you're getting. And it constantly changes. We're in a down market right now, so you're going to have to make more outbound calls, okay? But at the end of the day, you never miss, or you're going to have to then, I always say, if you miss a day, it's going to take you 3 days to get back on, okay? An agent that has a shitty week, it's going to take them a month to get back on. It's just going to happen. So what happens is that when you try to do something for a week and you stop and you don't see the results, that is why you don't get the traction. You have to keep consistency and be able to see if those are coming through. Like Tommy said, like I'm saying, we have nothing to hide. The biggest producers in this industry are more than happy to show you what we got going on in ideas. As a raise of hands, who's a new agent in the industry? And what? Awesome, welcome. Anybody of you working in a big brokerage, like just a more kind of like a major traditional brokerage? Okay. So what I would do if I were you, if I was going to start today, and I'm like, man, if I can go back in my DeLorean, I will go to any and all brokers that have been in the business for at least 5 to 7 years, and I would ask them, can I call your database for you? Anybody that I get that you haven't called in a year, anybody that I'll get, I give you 25% referral fee, and then I'll be able to keep that business. Or just give me a 25% referral fee, and that'll just be your sale. Nobody does their calls. You will get so many people to call. By the end of the day, you will have your $10 to $20 million business right there. Yeah. That's just one actionable item that I would do as a new broker. There's so many of these activities. Social media, how many posts are you going to put? What are the DMs? All of this. Quantify it. Make sure that you're putting it on paper and see that the results that you're getting are in line with what your expectations are. It's as simple as that.
I want to piggyback on this fire that you're spitting bars right now. Here's the other thing. Let's take it back. We just shared our recipes, right? And here's the beautiful thing about our industry especially, but life in general. Success is not monolithic. The path that you take to get and achieve success is not monolithic. There's many different ways to do it. But at the core foundation, what we both are saying, we are all doing money making activities, things that we can control, right? Regardless of the market's at. You have like the metrics and the recipe of what we do, but let's take it one step back. Because I was in your shoes, the ones that raised their hands that are new, and I was just like deathly terrified to make a phone call. And it wasn't because like I didn't want to like talk to a human over the phone. It was more like, man, what am I going to really talk about? Yeah. What am I really going to do? Okay. Now, here's the thing I hate about hustle culture. Hustle culture will say like, well, sweep those emotions and feelings under the rug. Like, get out of this industry. Sales is about like pushing yourself. Yeah, kind of. But you got to really download that feeling and apprehension. Okay. The apprehension you really have at the end of the day in reflection is you're afraid to make a call and ask for business, ask for an opportunity, ask for an introduction, because in your mind, you're like, what have I done for this person that I've earned the right to do that? Now you're onto something, okay? That's how I felt when I reflected back on my feeling of not wanting to lead generate. Then I started to think about this, right? At the core of relationship building, okay? This is something that I've mastered and I'm still continuing on this path of mastery. How I want you to look at relationship building is the same way you look at when you pull up to an ATM, okay? And a lot of you are young. An ATM is a physical brick and mortar Venmo, okay? It's something we like go to. They still exist. You put your card in there, okay? You can even say like a Venmo. When you pull up and you put your PIN and your card in, or you tap your phone nowadays, or you log into your Venmo Cash App, there's really two action items you have. You can either make a deposit, put money into your account, or you can make a withdrawal and take money out. A lot of the times we feel apprehension to make a withdrawal from a relationship because we feel like, well, we haven't like deposited any value into it. And that's a legit thought, right? We're not these Northwest Mutual Finance guys who are like, hey, here's your LinkedIn. I printed it out, Greg. Can you just introduce me to these 100 people? Like, I'm not even working with you. Why would I do that? Okay. I get it. Closed mouths don't get fed, but you have to be intentional on it. So that's how I want you to look at these money-making activities, the lead generation you do. Look at it as, how can I make a deposit of value into this person? Okay. That's information, education. Maybe it's putting them on game on where they should go eat, what they should do this weekend, right? Those are the little deposits that you can make. And over time, you build up, right, this balance of value in this person you've been pouring into. And now when you feel confident enough to say, hey, can you introduce me to someone, right? Can I list your home? Not only is it welcoming, but they look and say, like, yes, you've provided me with so much value. Of course, you can withdraw as much as you want. That's how you like crack that code, and you really level up and you get over this apprehension of lead generating. You get to these money making activities.
Chris, this is recorded, right? Because I can take notes. Thank you. All right, awesome. So one of the things that I was looking into on these gentlemen before we came and like prepared for today is I was trying to take notes on their social media. I'm hearing that we need to be a modern agent in today's world and in today's market. For you guys, I feel like I've really been able to see the brand that you guys have been building within your social media. And I had a quick question for you guys in terms of brand. What does brand mean to you, and how did you guys intentionally come up with that brand as opposed to just falling into it accidentally?
Great question. Do you care if I go first?
Go ahead.
So I once got to see the GOAT when it comes to marketing. His name is Seth Godin. Anyone heard of Seth Godin? He's awesome. I would highly recommend all his books. But I once got to see him speak, and he said this thing that just impacted me. It was almost a decade ago. And he said, hey, if Nike announced today that they're going to get into the hospitality game, start building hotels all across the country, we all would know what to expect, right? You know that's going to be a sick design, very design forward, super cool, posh. I'll probably run into like Michael Jordan, Caitlin Clark in the lobby, and you know it's going to be probably a luxury price point, okay? Now, if Hyatt announced we're getting into the shoe game, we'd all be confused, right? Like what, orthopedic shoes, Crocs, sandals? Like, what do you mean shoe game, right? And that's because Nike is a brand and Hyatt is just a logo in a portfolio, okay? Today in 2025, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of logos on for sale signs. There are not a lot of brands. A brand is something when I see, and I love your new logo, by the way.
Thank you.
When I see that V with the star, I know what that means, right? I know the level of service I'm going to get and the quality of professional I'll work with if I'm working with someone from Vesta. That's the brand. A brand tells your story, okay? And there's no better way right now than to amplify your brand, your personal brand, okay? Forget about like whatever brokerage you're at, that logo you put on the sign, that's just for compliance. That's not your brand. Your name is what the meaning is of what you do. You have to be amplifying that on social media nowadays, right? And you have to really be locked in and honed in, and I'm sure you have questions on that, so I won't get deeper into that piece. But that's the difference between a brand and a logo, right? And that's how you all should be thinking about it. Like, are you just a logo on a for sale sign? Or when someone sees that, do they understand what they're getting with that experience?
So what I'll add to that is, obviously Tommy just controls the narrative online of his brand. It's amazing to watch, right? Like if you've been following Tommy, you know that he speaks. He's got incredible, like powerful educational content, and he loves great restaurants around the city, right? Knows best burger spots. Any spot that you need in regards to great grub. Tommy's your guy. But like that's I can also tell. A level of passion and happiness, right, that comes from his I'm attracted to it. Like it's energetic, and I say that because it's what I've learned in regards to personal brand development is you have to be honest with who you are,
yes.
right?
Yes.
What we were taught for so long is that it's all about how many followers you have, like what's your reach, what's going on. It's now the whole thing is about making sure you're attracting the people that you want to do business with, and that people people want to do business with you. And it for me finding what that was, right? It really just turns into making sure that you're a happy person. And a lesson that I'll never forget is, about, let's call it 5-6 years into my business, I'm doing 20, 30 million. It's like a pretty good year, but like I'm talking to my friend, he's done 5x my numbers. And I'm like, man, that's incredible. Like you got it. You probably just figured it out. You're probably so happy. Like, congratulations. He was more upset than I was in regards to my numbers. And he's just like, yeah, but like this guy did more. Like I had a terrible year. I'm not number one, whatever. And that blew me away. Because I'm like, if he's not happy, right, and I'm unhappy with my sales, like what am I going for, right? Because I've tied so much of my early happiness to the successes that I was having. And it woke me up. Because I'm like, I can't keep chasing this never-ending journey to find possibly happiness at the end of the road. Mm-hmm. So what I realized that day is I had to separate happiness and success, because those are not related. Happiness is your why. It's got usually nothing to do with what you sell, loans you write. It's got nothing to do with your actual business. For me, it's my family, right? It's spending time with my daughters. It's going out and coaching their soccer teams on Saturdays, right? It's got nothing to do, but I am the most passionate when I'm watching these 4-year-olds run around and score a goal, and I think it's the FIFA World Cup. I swear to God, it's the best feeling ever. But what I use success for, my business, is to give me more of that. So I'm building my company in a way that I am able to step away as much as I possibly can. So I'm spending more time with my family without giving up any more success, and building my companies as well. So that difference is that you use your success to give you more happiness, which kind of relates to this whole social media thing, because social media just really should be reflecting what makes you happy, right? What is it that you like to do? Mm-hmm. And promote it and talk about it. Yep. Sprinkle in a little bit of real estate here and there, or mortgage information, right? But how often times do people buy a house, and how often times do people need a mortgage? Once every however many years, right? So you have to find this evergreen content that people can stay engaged with you, with your brand, so that when they are looking to buy, it's like, oh man, Tommy's awesome. Like I love following his stuff, and I just feel like I really connect with him. I want to use him to buy a house. That's the relationship that you want with your online community. Probably say that.
Follow up? Yeah, I'll. So what I love what Greg just said. Marketing is, in 2025, how I define marketing is being seen before and after you're known, liked, and trusted. Right? People are like, what the hell does that mean? Meaning people seeing me on their feed before they even know that they need to buy a home, sell a home, rent a home, sign a lease, or whatever, make a move. That's what marketing is. Good marketing is being seen before and after you're known, liked, and trusted. What Greg just hit on is gold, okay? What are you interested in, and why that's so important? Man, the buzzword everyone throws around, algorithms, right? And it's the most frustrating thing, because the algorithms constantly change. But right now, more than ever, okay, the algorithms connect you with content that you're interested in, okay? So if I come across your For You page or your Reel feed, it's probably because you are interested in like food, okay? It's connecting you with that. So why do I share this with you? Because, and this is something that I had to pivot from, right? There's not too many people that are interested in real estate education, right? If they are, they're probably like a nerd, and that's cool. But no one is like their algorithm's like, oh man, like Leo loves, 30-year fixed mortgage rates. So let's just start feeding him all the content out there. Okay, why do I say this? I don't say this to be discouraging. I say this because you really need to focus on what your interests are, right? Go deep to go wide. Get super deep, sub niche on what you're looking for. I will share with you information I learned, right? I invested 6 figures into being with this mastermind so that you don't have to, you can save yourself $100K on this. And there's this gentleman, his name is Rory Vaden. He is also like incredible marketing branding strategist. I was a part of his masterminds, and something that I learned is you really want to figure out what is your listener's promise. The people, your audience that follow you online, what is your promise to them that you're not going to break? Why are they going to always come back to take a look at your page and see your newest piece of content? What is that promise? Okay. My promise is to help make Chicago home. That is my golden thread in all my content. My content helps you make Chicago home. Literally by helping educate you on where to live and how to achieve home ownership. When you figure out where you want to live, where you should go and eat, and then things that you can do, all so that you can build community and feel community amongst where you call home. You need to create some sort of listener's promise. And when you have that, your content buckets will fill itself, and you can go super deep to go wide on it. To Greg's point, it's all about attraction marketing. Because it's people who love this year in 2025, 25% of our business has come from social media, okay? And it's coming because people have matched that interest where they're like, man, this dude puts me on game on all these like mom and pop places to eat and even like the high-end nice stuff. Like, I love that, and I'm a foodie. And man, if I'm gonna drop $500,000 on a condo, I kind of want to work with this guy. And they just slide into my DM, right? That's what's important about really finding your interests and exuding who you are. Because if you're into fly fishing, my bet is the content you would put about that, you would be such a happy, nerdy, just like exuberant person when you're filming that content. And to Greg's point, that's going to be really felt, that energy across the screen where people are like, man, I'm into this too. This is a person I want to work with when it comes to like listing my house, right? So it's really important that you have to really figure out what your interests are, because that's what the algorithms are pushing out, right? This is no longer like, oh, this is in my field and I'm going to like send this out to you. It's, I'm interested in this. I'm getting fed this content.
I feel like I'm hearing from both of you that part of your brand is just really being just genuinely who you are.
100%.
That part.
100% you are.
The whole thing.
We know Tommy loves being a father. We know Tommy loves doing his business, and Tommy loves to eat good food. We know that you like to have a good time. We know that you want to be with your daughters and your partner, and it's okay for you to put that content out there.
100%.
If you guys are saying that we need to be genuine online and we need to be ourselves, is there anything you would say that realtors should not be doing online?
I would say that's such a great question, Leo. What I would say is don't try and go viral. What does that mean? What does that even do? So what? 1 million people saw your video. That doesn't do crap for anyone, right? That's the biggest thing I see is that, and it's okay. I always say steal like an artist. It's okay to be inspired by an idea, but I see more people, trying to copy content because they saw something got like a couple 100,000 views, so I'm gonna like do that, okay? There's 3 types of content you can put out there: educational, entertaining, and inspirational, okay? Unless you have like a huge audience and you're like Tony Robbins, inspirational stuff's very hard for it to hit. So that leaves you with educational and entertaining. I think a lot of our colleagues in the industry, they think they're educating, but what they're really doing is entertaining because they're trying to chase this idea of virality. And they, to what Greg said, right, they really want to get their follower accounts up, right? So what I would say helps mitigate that, because I used to be of that mindset too. I said, I just need to grow followers and I need to get those views. And I didn't really care about engagement, okay? What shifted my mindset is the idea of I would rather be known well than well known. Does that make sense? I would rather the Fortune 100 CEOs know who I am than have 10 million followers on TikTok, right? Because I'm making a bigger, greater, stronger impact in a smaller group of people that I want. If you're frustrated because you feel like you're only getting like 500 views on like a piece of content, well, guess what? If those 500 people are hyper local Chicago people that are engaging with your stuff, like, you should be celebrating yourself. That's huge, right? Because who cares if like you get 20,000 views, but there are people that are coming from like Miami, Florida. Like, how does that help your business here in Chicago, right? Yeah. So I would say stop chasing virality, right? And just really focus in on being known well instead of well known.
Like that. Yeah, I think the only thing I'd say is don't get baited into wrong conversations. I think that you have to remember that there's a lot of people that are looking to hurt you online, brand, and like they're looking to cancel you, and without even a blink of an eye, right? It's I mean, like look at these people that are with the baseballs, right? People's jaw, like their lives are getting upside down because maybe they had a bad day. I don't know. Like, we all have bad days, right? Like, give me that ball. But like, you get a video on you that puts you in the wrong light. People don't ask, why do I hate this person? They're just told to now. And it is just impossible to get that flame out. So when you're on this online landscape, please don't confuse that your comment is necessary or that you should be putting all of your thoughts online. Grow up. It's not that important. Focus on the main thing. Today, if I put one wrong comment or I do one wrong thing, right? Like my marketing guy, he gave me a story. He was like, hey, and he's really excited. He really wants to kind of give me some content and stuff like that. And he gave me a story that I instantaneously knew that if I put this up, it goes exactly against my brand. I will get crushed. And it would be a terrible, terrible thing for my company. I understand the importance of my voice. I also am mature enough to know when to shut the fuck up. That's just the truth.
That's real. That's real. I did want to shift gears. I think you guys are giving us a lot on social media, a lot on just building your brand. I kind of wanted to shift a little bit of gears to, the main purpose of us being here and how to build a mega team, right? I know branding was part of it. But I wanted to actually start off with Greg and asking him, I know building a team, it really isn't just about hiring people. It's about finding the right people with the right qualities. So for you, what has been your biggest learning lesson in hiring the right people for your brokerage?
Yeah, I mean, before we even get to hiring, let's talk about why do you want a team, right? There's so many people that want a team because they want assistance, not because they want to assist people, okay? I see that all the time. And people get sold this, hey, you're going to be part of my team. You're going to help me run this business. I'm going to teach you everything. They don't have the time to educate, and they just tell them to go run their keys and put up lock boxes. That's not a team. You have assistants working for you. What I learned is that I need to start with value. The only reason that I have my team is because I have so much value to give, as in leads and building their business, than they could ever do themselves. And I can't work all these leads on my own, nor do I want to. So what I've been able to do is I've been able to create this environment that not just teaches people how to sell, but we give them the leads to sell. You need three things to be successful in real estate: leads, systems, and accountability, okay? If you have those three things, you're ready for a team. If you don't, please don't get a team going, but hire assistants. Now, when you're hiring, right, when it comes to, I do have real value to give, right? I have 1,000 leads that come into my company every single month. I change people's lives to the leads that I give them. My promise actually is to give them more business than they bring in. Completely on its head model. I promise them at least 1.5 business back for every one that they give me. It's because I have so many leads and I have the systems to be able to close those leads, and my business partner coaches everybody one-on-one every single week. So we have the 3 factors, and that is what we do. But when it comes to hiring, we have to hire correctly. And I only hire based off of 2 core principles and 1 sub-principle. First is best-in-class attitude. Like I mentioned before, 70% of your success is attitude. You cannot teach that. Either somebody's got it or they don't. The second is going to be the work ethic. Either you got it or you don't. I'm going to give you the leads to call. I'm not going to hold your hand and make those calls, right? At the end of the day, you're going to be making those calls. Now you're at 90% of the success ratio, right? So now work ethic and attitude is 90% of your success formula. That is the only 2 real things that I focus on, because I can't teach those things. And while it's 90% of your success formula, 90% of people just don't have it. So now I'm looking for the top 10% that do. The final factor is humility. Are they willing to be coached? Do they follow ego, or do they follow confidence? There is no room for ego on my team. Everything is confidence based. And a good way to think about that is when you look in the mirror, right? The only person that you want to be is looking back at you. Tommy said, I love that Phelps photo because it's exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody in my company is just focused on being the best version of themselves. They look into the mirror and they look at their MMAs and they just want to be great. That is it. But I start with value, and then I focus in on making sure I get the right hires, and then I just keep them accountable to make sure that they're doing their activities.
Money.
Bars. Here's what I will highlight and go expand on what Greg is saying. Ultimately, for those that, this is from a standpoint of if your goal is to start a team, right, and you are the rainmaker, team lead. If you look at any great organization, okay, from Apple to even Greg's team, you really see that it's Greg and Brad at the top, or Josh and myself at the top, and then the next layer of people below, 2 or 3 people, right? You look at any great organization, whoever that C-suite is, then you just see a massive amount of people underneath that. That first layer of people that you hire, it's so important. You're literally 1 or 2 people away from having one of the greatest teams and organizations that you have. So what I would say, and this is from me learning from my mistakes, failing forward throughout the years, the hiring process is the most important. You have to have a process to begin with. And you have to start with the end in mind. You have to know where you're heading, so you know who those players are that you need that are going to sit on that bus with you. Okay, you have to be able to cast a wide and huge vision. Because if I'm looking to join Greg's team and he's he's thinking very small, I don't know if there's room for me to grow in this organization. So I might not be attracted to that. Or I might say, okay, cool, I'll do this for a year and then I'll just jump onto another team, right? And no one wants that, okay? Both people don't want that. So you have to really have a clear and huge vision of where you're going, what you're looking to build to really attract those right people and have a process with it. The challenge is this, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure Greg is too. A lot of the times, Greg hit on the head, when people look to start a team, it's because they're overworked, and then what they're really looking for is leverage. They're looking for someone to free up hours on their calendar, okay? And when you do that, you have to understand that if you hire out of that necessity, that person you're getting is most likely going to be a short-term person that's not going to really help grow your organization or grow with you in organization. And a lot of the time, that fault comes to you as a person hiring. A lot of the times we hire when you're behind the 8 ball and things are super messy. Would you agree with that? Right? And what happens in those times? You get desperate. Right? That's when you start to meet, all right, this guy, Leo, I met with him. I'd kick it with him. I'd have a beer with him. Yeah, I'm going to hire him. I like him, right? You're not looking to hire like friends, right? You eventually build through your company culture relationship that where your team feels kind of like family in a non-toxic way, right? But you're not looking to hire people that you're looking to like just kick it with on the weekends, okay? And a lot of times when you're behind the eight ball, that's what happens. What also happens, a mistake is that you don't budget out to hire people. You think more short term. So when you don't budget out for someone, what happens is it hinders your ability to want to hire someone that is A+ talent and quality, because you start to freak out like, well, how am I going to pay this person? And the second piece of it is that you have a shorter leash, so to say, for lack of better terms, on giving this person enough of a chance to grow, right? Because you're like, well, okay, like I'm good for the next 90 days because I have these deals in the pipeline. But then after that, I don't know how I'm going to pay this person, so this person better prove themselves. That's not fair. And you're setting that person up for failure, right? So you really have to be all in on having that vision, knowing where you want to go so you know what players you want. Be very intentional on that interview process. Would you agree that picking one person out of 20 is better quality than picking one person out of 3, right? So you have to really cast a wide net and be very intentional in that process. And then you need to really have that budgeted out in your business plan so that you can give that person time to grow within your organization as well. And you're not making desperate moves in the hiring part or even in the retention piece as well.
Follow up for you, Tommy. I know that you've led on not just like a local, a state, and even like a national level in terms of the Illinois Association of Realtors, but you also you lead your own team and you're leading sales and production at like a higher level while still being a father and a husband and a foodie. Right?
Yeah.
How do you find time for all of these things? How do you find time for all of these things?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of blow. No, is this thing on? Okay. See, this is why we can't be on panels. Because
You guys
feeds
invited
me,
us,
and then
okay?
I bait into it. I bite it like a fish. So here's the thing. First is this: the word balance. Erase that. There's no such thing as balance, and you don't want balance. Why? Think about this. When I go to the park with my girls, I'm a girl dad. Right? I have 3 girls, Henley, Mosley, and Mare. There's 13, 10, and 8. When we would do the teeter-totter, right? In order to achieve balance on a teeter-totter is when you're both standing there equally and it's in complete balance. There's no time in where life and work are like that, okay? And there should not be a balance between life and work because why? We have to work in order to live. So it's just called life, okay? What you need to strive for is living a harmonious life. Work and personal have to live in harmony. What does that mean? Sometimes work sings the dominant melody note, and other times, right, it might just be the harmony, right, the lower note in the song. How I approach that with that mindset, and how I'm able to do this thing is one is understanding that success is sequential. There's a sequencing you have to do in order to achieve, right? The money-making activities Greg's talked about, you just don't pick one and just go. There's an order that you have to do these things in, okay? And that helps prioritize. You cannot control time, right? I can't say like, hey, time, pause because I'm gonna watch Avengers Endgame for 3.5 hours, and then when I'm done, let's restart, let's hit play again and continue online. No. You cannot control what time is doing, but the only thing you can control, this comes with the harmony, is that you can control the activities you choose to do in the time that you're given, okay? So that's how I balance, how I live in harmony, is I'm intentional the 24 hours that I'm given, what activity I'm gonna do. Now my sequencing, right, in this and prioritizing is in 4 quadrants, okay? First thing I start my day is what I call social selling. Okay, that's when I put my content out, I engage, slide into DMs. Okay, then I do what's called voice-to-voice selling. when I literally pound the phones, okay? Those two things are the most important and most impactful activities that move the ball down the field for my business. So I have to do that before noon. My mantra is I need to win my day before noon. I don't care if I signed a listing or went under contract on a property that day. If I did those two things, I'm celebrating that. That's a huge win because that's setting me up for success tomorrow. Then in the afternoon, the last two quadrants is face-to-face selling. Now, that's where I mentioned I'm very big about getting face-to-face with people. I'm eating lunch with someone, having coffee. And then the fourth is appointments. That might be showing properties if you're a buyer's agent. And that might be listings if you are more listing driven, going on listing appointments, okay? Those are the four pillars that I sequence out in a day that keep me in harmony on the work side, okay? Then everything else I fill in with life, and I prioritize that first, right? Because my daughters, my wife, being a good partner, being a good son to my parents, that's number one. So you have to stop trying to balance, because that's what leads to burnout. You can't teeter-totter it. Just look at it as living your life, a harmonious life, and balancing it through harmony.
I wanted to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I think that was so perfectly said. It goes along the theme of everything we've talked about. I'd say that my MMA sheet, right? One thing that I didn't know is you'll be blown away how much you can get accomplished if you have focused activities, right? The hamster wheel mindset for a lot of realtors, right? Like this was like my biggest fear, is where you're busy during the day, you know you're busy, you're running around, right? But at the end of the day, you're like, man, I know I was busy, I don't know what I did today. That's a nothing day, that's a wasted day. You didn't build anything that day. That's why MMAs, right? That's why this sheet, and you don't have to use that. I'm just saying like in regards to understanding what you're doing every single day and why, it then helps you build that business brick by brick because you know what you're building towards. Mm-hmm. And when you bring that rhythm into a chaotic industry, right, you bring this focus because no one's going to call you and be like, hey, you got to get up, got to make these calls. That's the thing about our business is that it's fully self-motivated. But a lot of people, they don't know how to structure their day so that they're just constantly like grasping at things. I got to be busy, so I got to go do this, or I got to go make this call, whatever. But if it's not structured, again, you're just this hamster in a wheel and you're not building on anything. I have a term for it. It's called zombie broker, right? Mm-hmm. For me, what a zombie broker is, right? My biggest fear is when I was in the industry very early on and I had real estate agents that were 30, 40 years in the business. They come disheveled. They look terrible. They're so pissed off. And I look at their historic output, and it's like they haven't grown in the last 10, 15 years, just consistently at a $4 or $5 million pace. To me, that person is just every single day doing the same exact thing, maybe hoping for another result, but they're not building on anything. And that is what's happening in regards to when you're not focusing on your day. And then that's what gives you that negativity feeling, because you feel like you're not moving, you get irritated, and then you lash out at the closest people to you. But I'll tell you, when you have the structure and you start to see it, it's going to take some time. Once you start to see the results from that consistency, it brings this like incredible inertia, this feeling that you got it, you're building towards it, and you are in control of your day. That's where real estate changes for people. When you feel like you're in the control of the day, or the day controls you, and that's where the irritation lies.
I've heard that before from one of my mentors too, where they've actually told me that like real estate is very like it's kind of like a cycle where sometimes you have highs and then you have your lows. For agents that might be experiencing their first low, like what advice would you tell them so that they could really quickly get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not low. It's one thing I taught myself is never get too low and never get too high. Just stay steady Eddie, right?
That's our mindset. 15 protocol, if we have to hit it, we're in 15 protocol right now for a month of October. We know it's okay, black shoes, black socks time. We have to all dig deep and start doubling down. So part of it is knowing that just like when you're on your journey, like on the highway, you're seeing those signs that say like, okay, next stop 15 miles. You know that eventually you're going to have a time where you're going to feel a low, and that's going to be coming. It's inevitable, and knowing ahead of time what you're going to do to help get out of that funk, right? Mindset-wise, that's why it's so important to what I said earlier. You have to celebrate all the wins. Stack all the little wins because they add up to big ones. I'll share with you the last part of my everyday schedule, if I pull up my calendar, you see at 9:45, I have a reoccurring reminder that says cash out register, okay? Has anyone ever worked retail job? I worked at Baskin Robbins, the one on Peterson, when I was in high school. High school. And at the end of the day, the owner of that Baskin Robbins was Nina Patel. She was a boss. I would have to cash out my register at the end of my shift, right? And I had to write down how much money was in the drawer and whatnot, mainly because she probably didn't trust me, and she thought I was a teenage kid, and I was going to pull a $20 bill out of there, right? You had to audit your work. That was such an impactful thing, and every retail job does this. But I literally cash out my register every day. Before I go to bed, the last thought I have is, what did I do well today, right? Just like I'm cashing out the register at Baskin Robbins, my last thought is, what was a win I could celebrate? When I am in my funks, when we are not immune to it, that is my saving grace, because it allows me to celebrate something, right? And a lot of the times it's not because I signed the listing or I sold this property. It's because, man, I had 4 really great conversations with people, and not just helping my business, but it was just great to connect, right? It might have been a face-to-face that I had, right? It might have been a DM that I was able to get out and now convert into a face-to-face appointment. It's important to stack all the little wins, because like I said, small hinges can swing large doors, and that's how you really get out of those mindsets.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. I appreciate both of you coming down to speak.
Thank you.
Huge shout out to Leo for moderating this panel. Before we wrap things up,
Leo!
I just wanted to open up the floor to Q&A, but I have a question, so I'm going to start the Q&A session. For both of you, so I'm hosting industry events to bring out real estate agents. What is a good event idea to bring out consumers?
Consumers. Like buyers and sellers?
I'll toss it out there. Right now, I'll give you a content idea, okay? So here's the thing. So my kids, Henley, who I was telling you, who was like badgering me for TikTok in the middle of the day, which I was like, I'm literally speaking on stage. She's like, why? Here's what I love about her. She's like, then why did you answer? So anyway, she's a hustler. She was super into Full House. Okay, remember that show, Full House? I used to watch it when it was literally live on TV, TGI Fridays. And we would stream it. And what was so funny, she's so intuitive. She mentioned like, hey, all the other shows that we stream on Netflix and Hulu and Disney, they're 30 minutes. How come Full House is only 27 minutes long? And I said, oh, Henley, that's such a great question. It's because there was literally 3 minutes of commercials back in the day. We couldn't fast forward. We had to watch commercials. And what got me into thinking is I did the math. Maybe it was 6 minutes. Whatever the math is, when you divide that out of 30-minute allotment, it ends up being almost 28% of the time. I like to think that someone in Hollywood who's super important and smart invested into research to understand the human can handle in a 30-minute allotment 27% of that time into being pitched something. When you get pitched something on YouTube, it's the same thing. The math is the math. Why do I share this with you? Well, to answer your question, Chris, is that when we talked about your content, right, being about something that interests you, it's okay to pepper in 28% of the time real estate. Mm-hmm. Because you have to remind people, and people aren't going to be like, what? I'm not following this guy. He tricked me. I thought it was about restaurants. Now he's pitching real estate? No. That's part of the commercial. That's how we're wired. However, instead of being boring and just putting just closed, just listed stuff out there, if you do it, by the way, it's okay, but storytell when you do that. What I would do, Chris, is I would be pitching, and we do this, first-time home buyer webinars, okay? You don't even have to do it in person. In 2025, people actually prefer not to come, leave their office to try and fight traffic, especially in River North, where every bridge is freaking closed down now, right? They just want to be able to log on. Lead with educational value, okay? And don't call it like first-time homebuyer webinar. Ours is called Fire Your Landlord, okay? We teach you how to fire your landlord into home ownership. So that's what I would be doing if I were you or anyone in here, is as you build your content and as you build an audience that starts to trust you, put out that commercial of like, hey, we're also helping people, like you like Oshaval, you can live in the Fulton Market actually. We're gonna teach you how to do that and fire your landlord. And you do these webinars and we'll get about like 100, 110 registered, and then like 30 or 40 show up, which is great. And then we're at like a 10% of that, 3 or 4 will actually, the call to action at the end of that is to do a one-on-one buyer consultation with one of our team members, and we'll do that. So that's what I would be doing if I were you or anyone in here for a consumer-facing event.
No comment. That was perfect.
Anyone got a question?
Thank you, sir. My name is Joey Rosen, I'm partners with Chris. First off, I want to thank you guys for coming. This is awesome.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. All right.
Fantastic job. Same with Leo. But I have a two-part question for all of you. So in real estate, we all kind of know each other. We know the companies, kind of live in our own bubble. We have a lot of clients that come to us. They might not know who we are. So two-part question for you guys. It might be easy for you. What's your value proposition of why they should work with you? And then on the flip side, for younger agents out there who maybe have closed one deal or struggling, how would you advise them to answer that question?
Yeah, so I always lead it with making sure that they understand why they're asking that question, right? So whenever I have somebody come in and consult, like, hey, listen, I'm talking to 3 other brokers, I start with, okay, what are the questions you're going to be asking us? I usually don't have anything. I'm like, all right, these are the really important questions to ask, right? And then obviously I'm doing like units they've closed, what areas, what experience, how long they've been in the business, right? It's easy for me to do that, right? For my newer agents, right, the whole benefit outside of all the leads and things like that is that they can literally just get on my bandwagon and they can use all of my stats and they can say, hey, listen, on average, when we help a buyer, when we go to sell, we give them on average $40,000 in equity. Like, it's not about buying a house, it's about an investment, right? So when it comes to what people really want, right? The understanding of, they're not looking to buy a house. They want someone that they can trust, guide them in the experience of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, financial decision of their life. They're scared, right? So when I tell them, it's like, listen, I don't care what house I'm going to sell you. I'm going to sell you the right house, right? My job is not to sell you the house. My job is to get 2 referrals from you after the house. So I have to do a great job. Look at my reviews. I'm the #1 review team in the city. That means that I have to do a great job. That is my reputation. And yes, like, I'm going to sell you a house. That's what I do. That's how I make my money. But I'm going to do such a good job that you're going to be referring me your friends and family. And usually it's a referral that's talking to me. So I'm like, you see, like, I just want to keep doing this down line, right? Yep. So it's leading with that kind of like, they're just coming in like, well, why would I use you to buy a house? I'm like, because you're hiring me as an investment coach. You're going to be buying a house, but I'm going to make sure that you're buying the right investment, right? So you have to alter the way that they see what they're doing, and when you educate them and they feel like they've gained something of value in that conversation, that trust is built, and then there's that much higher likelihood that they're going to use you. Now, if they're coming in and they're like, well, this guy's going to do, for this percentage of whatever, I'm like, I'm not a discount broker. At the end of the day, I also know my value, so I'll be willing to say no. And don't be thirsty for that business. If somebody is going to be dragging you down with them, don't let them do that, right? Have a value proposition for yourself as well, and that also gives you that confidence that people can sense.
Yeah, I love that. What I would add to that is what not to say is, oh, I'm going to work hard for you. I'm going to respond quickly. I understand the market. And why I say that is value, especially after August 17th of last year with this whole compensation lawsuit. Value has become this buzzword. That is not our value. Those are services that are expected and come with working with a professional, right? So you can't differentiate yourself from that because we're going to all do the same thing. Now, it's important that you demonstrate that during your pitch, whether it's a listing appointment or your buyer consultation. But to add on to what Greg is saying, what is one of one to each of us is your story. My favorite thing in a listing appointment is at the end, especially when I'm getting shopped out and interviewed with 2 other agents, when they say like, okay, why should we work with you? What makes you different? I just tell my story, okay? I literally, what was your name again? Joey. I'd be like, Joey, I appreciate you asking that. I'm first generation in this country. My grandfather immigrated here in the 70s to the north side of the city. And like many immigrants, he sought after greater opportunity. But for him, it was a little bit different because the opportunity he wanted is to one day own his own home. And it wasn't just from the practical sense of having a roof over his head. For him, it was solely pride. He wanted to put his stake in the ground and say that this piece of Chicago, this piece of America was his. The reason I share this with you, Joey, is that that's what makes me different. I'm here doing this because I'm honoring the reason why my grandpa came to this country, the American dream. You worked hard to achieve this, buy this home. I want to protect that and show you a return. You are not a unit, a transaction, a commission check, or a client to me. You are my grandfather, and that's why I want to support you, and that's what makes me different. I've never had a time when someone goes like, no, I'm looking for something different. They understand that that's unique and one of one to me, and that I have a purpose. Now, you don't have to be first generation and immigrated here to have that story. Why did you come into real estate? Of all the different jobs you could have picked, why did you focus on this industry? Somewhere there's a story, right? Maybe it was you watching your parents buy a place. Maybe it was your first client you helped and how happy that made them. When you can bottle that up, reflect, and share that when someone asks why they should work with you, I'm okay losing that client if that doesn't connect with them because they're probably going to be a jerk and an asshole anyway, right?
True.
But that is going to resonate because here's the thing. If someone early on, if any of you that are new, if you're getting at-bats with potential buyers and sellers, it's because they already trust you in a certain way. And maybe early on it's relationship driven. Maybe you were an old coworker from a past, corporate gig or past job, or you run in the same circle. There's a reason why they are giving you an opportunity to talk. So you don't have to prove yourself with a resume. You just have to just prove and assure to them that what their gut is telling them is a right intuition that they need to follow. And a lot of that comes with just telling your story, right? It's not, I'm going to work hard for you. I understand the stats, right? I do a lot in this area. Some people want that, but most people are going to make that connection, and you already earned the trust, so you just need to validate it for them that what they're thinking is right.
Spot on. Beautiful.
I love that. I'm going to use that when a realtor asks me, why should I work with you? Why should you be my lender?
Hey, I'll drop a bonus gem on you. This is also what I do. Now I only focus on the listing side, but I would do this with buyers too, still to this day. It's always important at the end to ask, I always call it my money question. After you've done your whole pitch and done everything, and I told my story when they asked me whatever, right? I always like to be like, hey, Chris, so do you have any other questions for me? And they'll be like, no, I think we're good. I'm like, can I ask you a question, right? And they'll always say like, yeah, sure. I always look them in the eye and I'll say, is there any reason why you feel that I wouldn't be a good fit to list your home? Okay. What that does is it anchors them. And you literally say, is there any reason why you wouldn't feel that I would be a good fit to list your home? They're either going to say, they literally 80% of the time they look at each other. If it's like a couple, and be like, no, we want to work with you, right? So you close them there. The 30% of the time where it's not a definite hard yes, they're going to tell you what the objection is. A lot of times be like, well, the other guy I talked to was offering less commission. Well, the other person said that they would do like the cinematic movie at my home, and blah, blah, blah. So now it gives me one last shot to overcome an objection, because there's nothing, and if I lose the listing after that, I'm sleeping like a baby. I'm cool. Mm-hmm. There's nothing worse than you follow up the next day and they say, oh, we decided to go with someone else. I go, well, what? Can you share feedback? Like, yeah, your commission was too high. Or they were going to take like 30 photos and you were only going to do 10. Like something stupid, right? You get one more shot at making sure that you lock up that thing. And nobody asks that kind of closing question anymore. So they feel so like, damn, this is a person I want to work with. So use that.
It's gold.
Any other questions? All right, well, we'll call it. Can we give one round of applause for these two amazing speakers?
All right.